In its near 3-year existence, the Switch has become a powerhouse to various genres, with RPGs and smaller indie games in particular picking up where something like the Vita left off. But over those 3 years, the Switch has begun to amass a superb collection of shoot-em-up games, from modern indie stabs at the genre to decades-old classics. Of the classics, there are a few big-name developers that spring to mind, and one of those is Japanese developer Psikyo, who during their 12-year existence, starting in the early 90s, churned out some of the genre's best shmups. Much of Psikyo's output has found its way onto the Switch, and their publishers NIS America have pulled together 2 collections of 12 games called Shooting Stars, with Bravo due later in February. Now let's see what the first collection has to offer in my review of Psikyo Shooting Stars Alpha collection on the Nintendo Switch. Shooting Stars Alpha contains a total of 6 games from Psikyo, which are Strikers 1945 1, 2 and 3, Soul Divide, Dragon Blaze and finally Zero Gunner 2. Now immediately you may have alarm bells hearing that there are 3 games from the same series, and I'll come to that in my wrap up. First I'll quickly run through each game in the collection and give each a score out of 10, and then give you my verdict on the package as a whole. It should also be noted that I'm no shmup expert by any means. Players who are really into this genre have very specific things they look for, and there are a wealth of specialist YouTubers out there who can give you that level of detail. For me, I'll be coming at these games from a casual player's point of view, so if you're curious about shmups and are just getting into the genre, then hopefully this will be helpful for you. So first up are those Strikers games, a series that looked to the classic arcade game 1942 and gave it a modern twist. These are all vertical scrolling shoot-em-ups with a very similar feel, especially Strikers 1 and 2. The first, set just after the World War in 1945, sees the Strikers team having to assemble to save the world from the threat of a new terrorist organisation. You choose one of 6 different planes and take to the skies, fighting off hordes of enemies that rain bullets down on you. As is the setup in most of these games, you can shoot with A, activate a screen clearing bomb with B, and hold Y to auto shoot. Once you build up enough charge, you can tap A to unleash a more powerful shot, which varies depending on the plane selected. Graphically, Strikers 1945 is really nice with some great pixel artwork, especially on the bigger bosses. I really love this game, it's just at the sweet spot difficulty wise for me, although it must be noted each of these games has a very tweakable difficulty level, and this one is an absolute blast to play, and I'm going to rate this at a very solid 8.5 out of 10. Now Strikers 2 sees more of the same as the first game, although the main difference sees your power shot now affected by a bar that you can build up, and that's displayed at the bottom of the screen. I found Strikers 2 a struggle, to be honest. It's very much like the first game in so many ways, which doesn't make it a bad game. The fact it improves in some areas means it's technically the better game, but it feels like a cop-out having 2 such similar games make up a third of the total package here. I'm going to be giving Strikers 2 a 7.5 out of 10, just down to the lack of originality following the first in the series, but it's still an excellent game overall. Thankfully, Strikers 3 takes the Strikers formula of the first 2 games and at least mixes it up a bit, bringing the story forward to 1999 and introducing a new selection of modern jet fighters to choose from and a setting other than World War II. The enemy this time around are more alien and mech based in their appearance. For me, Strikers 3 is quite a bit tougher than the first 2 and had much more of a bullet hell feel from very early on, though apart from a slight variation in boss fights, not much else has changed. I personally found this the weakest of the 3 Strikers games to play, and while still enjoyable to a degree, I'm going to be giving it a 7 out of 10. So moving away from Strikers, next up is a bit of an odd title called Soul Divide. This one at least is something a bit different to the vertical shooters on the package and is actually a side-scrolling affair, but also features a very deliberate though cliched story and has some advanced mechanics for games of this type, including some light RPG elements and branching paths through the map. Unfortunately, the gameplay is really clunky, featuring a mix of standard shooting and close-range melee attacks, neither of which feel great to use, along with collectible magic spells. The graphics are kind of pre-rendered, think something like Pit Fighter or Donkey Kong Country, and you get the idea. Now this isn't a terrible game, and I have had some fun playing it, but it definitely sticks out as a weak link when placed against the other 5 here, and I'm actually going to be giving this a 5 out of 10. Moving on to probably what is the best game overall, and that is Dragon Blaze. Now what I like about this game is, although it reverts back to type with your standard vertical scrolling action, It also incorporates a little of the story elements from Soul Divide, giving the action a little bit more context, and I'd say the action itself is a step up from the first Strikers games. You choose from one of 4 characters, each have a unique dragon that they fly on, and each have unique shooting patterns, bombs and special magic attacks. At any point you can choose to detach from your dragon, who flies off, continuing to shoot up the screen, and you retain control of your character, albeit in a weakened form. You can at any point reunite with your dragon if needed. There are some stunning pixel art graphics at work here, and the effects are just an absolute blast to see, and it's a great game to play, surely one of the best vertical shooters on the Switch, and I'm going to be giving Dragon Blaze a 9 out of 10. Finally, we have Zero Gunner 2, which seems to have a Marmite effect on fans. Some hate its overcomplicated aiming systems, while some like the fact that it's something a little bit different. I'd be leaning towards the latter, as I had a great time piloting my attack helicopter and attacking from different angles by rotating my ship around a cursor, which is done by holding down the Y button. It's probably a little overly complex for those that just want to jump in and shoot stuff, but I applaud the originality. The graphics too are really nice, mixing modern day warfare against mechs and bots as the screen scrolls around in all 8 directions. Probably not a game I could play over and over in one sitting, but when I've put the collection on at any time, I've always ensured I'd grab some time on Zero Gunner 2, and I'm going to be giving this one a 7 out of 10. So that's the games. What are my thoughts on this package? Well, before I go any further, it should be noted before I get to my conclusion that all of these games feature their own leaderboards and also can be played in tape mode, which is great for using with the Switch Flip Grip accessory if you have that. I do have a few concerns though. My biggest issue really is that all the Psikyo collection is basically a convenient launcher for all 6 games. Don't get me wrong, that's nice to have and definitely a convenience if you're going to be playing these games a lot, but there are no additional features that you might get in other retro collections. It would have been nice to have some history on the company and the games, a retro art collection of the arcade cabinets, maybe some sort of gauntlet mode where your high score from each game is tallied in one giant shooting fest. It just all feels a bit of a wasted opportunity on the whole. The fact is, these are 6 standalone games at a very slightly cheaper price for the privilege of buying them together as a package. The 6 operate totally independently from each other, and because of this, even if you have just one of the games yourself, then there really isn't much incentive to get this package above cherry picking the games you want from the eShop. That said, if you're looking to get into the genre, then this is a great place to start. You're getting 3 very good games in Strikers 1 and 2 plus Dragon Blaze, and you get decent mileage between the other 3 as well. Who this is really aimed at is the physical collector, as you can buy a quite superb limited edition collection complete with art book, soundtrack CDs and a limited edition case. So the upshot is that NIS America had to put some version on the store as a digital alternative. With all that said, you're still looking at some of the greatest shmups ever released all in one package, and that's not to be sniffed at. It just feels like a little more could have been done to add some value. I'm going to be giving Psikyo Shooting Stars Alpha on the Nintendo Switch an excellent 8.5 out of 10, on the proviso you don't have any of the included games in your library already, which would diminish the value of the collection significantly. Alternatively, seek out that amazing physical collection and stick it on your game shelf. Okay, hope you enjoyed that review of Psikyo Shooting Stars Alpha on the Switch. I'm looking forward to getting my hands on the Bravo collection later on in February, see how that stacks up against this one. If you did enjoy the video, please give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment below. Also, please subscribe if you're new here, and I'd be very happy if you do that. Thank you very much. And with all that said, I will bid you farewell and see you all in the next video. Thanks everyone. Bye bye.